In 1745, Equiano was born in Asaka, which is now called Nigeria. He was known as a former enslaved African. Between the years of 1756 to 1763, he was kidnapped at the age of 11, and he was sold into slavery by multiple masters in Africa. He then gets shipped to the West Indies and Virginia by a slave ship, where he is bought by the British naval officer Pascal, who intended to give Equiano away to his friends in London, but kept him instead, so that he could be his aide during the 7 Years' War. During this time, he learned about God and started to learn how to read and write. Due to him being at sea, he became used to his situation. Equiano wanted to be free and thought that Pascal would allow him to be free one day. However, Pascal found out about this and purposely sold him to Captain James Doran. Equiano was devastated by this decision and tried to quit based on God's wills. In 1763 through 1766, Doran sold Equiano to Robert King, who was a wealthy Quaker merchant from Philadelphia. Even though he didn't mind working for his slave master, he eventually saved up enough money to buy his freedom. In 1766 through 1773, his slave master agreed to give him money towards his freedom if Equiano showed that he could work for his money. He then gives that money that he earned from performing labor to his owner, so that way he could be a free man. In 1797, he died in London at the age of 52 years old. The scene that contributes to my understanding of the culture, values, and society produced is in the scene where Equiano was hung and beaten on the slave ship because he tried to escape without his master's authorization. All he wanted to do was to become free and live his life as a human, since he was tortured and beaten at such a young age. It shows that they did not care for nobody else's feelings, thoughts, or opinions, except for their own, because of the way the slave masters were talking to Equiano. After his near-death experience, he came to the conclusion that he wanted to get closer to God in much a deeper way than before. He did this by visiting several churches and by reading the Bible. By him encountering the elderly man that was a Methodist, he became more capable of understanding the Bible. Once this happens, he realized that even by doing good work, it does not guarantee the salvation that God has provided. He then becomes a Methodist by joining a Methodist church. From this day forward, religion became a very important part of his daily life, and it also helped him shape his identity. The moment that contributes to my understanding of my culture and value in my society is when Equiano was captured by the Navy captain and eventually was free. But another master has stolen his freedom papers, so that way there is no evidence to show that he was allowed to be free to the public as a human being instead of a slave. This reflects my own culture and values in my society because the President Donald Trump wants to build a wall so that way immigrants cannot cross the border to come to the United States. However, with building this wall, the military would have to protect the area where the wall would be placed to stop immigrants from reaching the United States. If they so happen to decide to make the choice to cross the border, they will be captured by the military and put in jail. Or other option for them could be that they end up being deported back to the country or island that they are from. The reason why the president is doing this is because he does not want the illegal immigrants to be able to experience the American dream and have legal birthrights here in the United States. He also wants to do this to prevent immigrants from collecting free benefits from the government under illegal terms. I would recommend a book called The Interesting Narrative of the Life of Olaudah Equiano to others, because it informs the reader on the entire slavery experience for African Americans. This book also demonstrates how when a person is given a certain level of power, they can use it wrongfully against others. It can educate people on how to make something out of nothing. The reader will be able to understand that with every bad experience, they can receive something that is good in return. To add on to this, the person that will get the opportunity to read this book will learn that sometimes the sacrifice that people make in life are to benefit someone else. This book allows for others to feel sympathy towards African Americans and the things that they had to endure during this time period. It could give insight to those who are curious as to how slavery eventually ended.